Yeah, I'm starting the stream, so we're going live. Yeah, I'm starting this. Okay, so this should be working now. Hi, everyone. It's really an honor and a pleasure to meet you here. Well, our session is called Protopia, Moving into Regenerative Futures. How can we build up an alliance? And okay, so this should be working now.
You're on mute, Anastasia.
Yeah, I'm repeating myself because yeah, I have the Safari open, but now I closed it, and now it should be right. So our point is that nowadays we all face that the previous system doesn't work, and we have so many problems that we really need a new system of economics, a new system of education, a new social system in order to just to go forward, just to start living and not surviving. Yeah. This new era, this new system of education, society and economics, it can't really be built in one particular place. So if we build it just locally, then it's not about the future, right? So we won't really go there. But if we also try to maybe make some universal answer about it, yeah, it's also too ambitious and it won't work because we have so many different cultures, so many different people and places. And that's why we thought about maybe an ecosystem of experiments, of polygons from different countries and from different spheres that can support one another and enforce one another. And that's how maybe we can build really an international alliance where we are being collected like a puzzle, really, and then have a more, well, not universal, but a more whole answer just from all those pieces. And today we meet a lot of different people who are already carrying out some experiments in all of the spheres. And well, first of all, we'll have a round of short speeches from each of the speakers to share your experience in all of those experiments. I wanted to ask Anne Louise Mitzman to start. So she is the founder of Earthwise Center. And the idea is about thriving future, thriving society, and about regenerative society. So can you maybe start with describing the concept? So what is it about? Just also for the viewers who don't really know maybe the word thriving and what the thriving society is, and the main concepts, the main practices that should be adopted there. So can you please share your experience?
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone on the call who's joining in. We can't see you, but we can feel and sense you, and I think that's a great metaphor for our future, because we can't yet see our future either, but we can feel it and we can sense it as it reaches into us. And so I think this is, really an amazing initiative to bring us all together on this call on a very important topic. So yes, to start with the word thrivability, that has a lot of different meanings. So what I'm sharing, that's just my understanding of it. And it's really focused on the combination of to thrive and the ability to thrive, hence thriveability. Because if we only focus on thrive as a moment, then to me, we're not developing the competencies for a thrivable future, which is much more than that. And thriving for me starts with understanding that each of us, whether it is the tree, the fish, the ocean itself, us as human beings, have given potentials for us, as part of planetary beings. We have these incredible potentials of life, to have an evolutionary consciousness, to have the ability to learn, to have the ability to develop. And if that developmental process is also really happening at deeper integral levels, then it's also such that we're contributing to an evolutionary journey. So by starting with our ability to thrive as a inherent life-given ability, that simply through your membership here on this planet, by being alive, you already have thrive ability. But then it's the manner in which to actualize now that ability, that potential. That is really about an evolutionary learning process. And as is implied in the word evolutionary learning, that also then implies collective learning processes, an ecosystemic understanding that we are, as indigenous nations have always said, we are really one being. We are part of one consciousness, one life, or as what's coming out of the new paradigm sciences right now is understanding life as a unified reality, as a field of consciousness. And that if we're taking it even further into the primacy of consciousness, then we could even say that everything takes place within consciousness, even those conversations that we are having, those questions and those experiments, and kind of that understanding, that kind of more new paradigm fundamental, also scientific understanding of what do we see as the basis of reality, what do we see as primary, it really informs how we look at future. And my sense is that if we want to be developing partnerships and alliances for thrivable civilization, we need to start sharing first about what are our concepts, what are our assumptions, what are our hypotheses and our understanding of the reality of life, of the kind of universe in which we are, and what is forming and informing those questions. So is it only the kind of, the collapse scenario, the breakdown, the tensions, the challenges that are ushering us now to ask these deeper questions about what does it mean to be human? How do we develop our future competencies? What kind of learning process is bringing us together? Is it only that? Or could it be that there is, if future is really part of this larger consciousness, could it be that it's the future of a thriving civilization itself that is reaching into us right now at this time, and therefore inspiring us to ask these deeper questions, to widen our hearts, to open our capacity to learn anew. And so when we kind of stand on the foundations of future as a place of possibility, a possibility for possibilities, a life-affirming process, then now that becomes really exciting, because that means that there is a larger intelligence that we are all part of, that might be kind of inviting us into a journey of discovery, that by asking those questions from that perspective, we may find out whole new ways of designing our systems, of regenerating our planet, and also to give birth to cultures that are designed to thrive. So its ability to thrive, for me at least, it is a life intrinsic evolutionary developmental process, and that's essentially therefore a future creative process, and future creative in the sense that it creates new possibilities and for life and all of us to thrive together. There's one other dimension I'd like to add about thrivability that we sometimes don't think about, and that is also, and it seems paradoxical, also our ability to be aware of pain, to process pain, and to learn from pain. Because sometimes people, when they hear the word thrivability, they think, oh, everything is joyful and happy. So if I'm not feeling like completely at my best, then I'm not thriving. No. There's a lot of suffering right now in the world. And there's a lot of suffering, in my view, and based on the kind of research I've been doing as well, as part of my PhD research about systemic barriers, that has to do with that our mechanistic systems by design have been incapable to notice or learn from pain. So we create a lot of negative impacts, and then when we get the feedback from our planet, we get the feedback also from our future, we get the feedback from the larger family of life, we seem to be incapable of responding in such a way that it is a fundamental shift, that we are truly learning from the feedback we are receiving and therefore reinventing the ways that we steward our planet and that we are developing our cultures. So also this capacity to be aware of the suffering, but in such a way that it leads now to an innovative response, I see as integral to our ability to thrive. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I liked a lot the idea about pain, that it is not what should be deleted from the thrivable future, but just a normal part of life and a normal part of being a human, and an important part which we can get lessons from. And I see that Pavel has joined us. So hi, Pavel.
Yes. Hello. Yes.
So
ready to support you, Anastasia.
Thanks a lot. I think that we should first go on some short speeches so that we can have some time at the end to discuss. And well, Anna-Lu was talking.
Can I only ask? Can I only ask Anna-Louise to maybe briefly share? Anna-Louise, I know you're not only kind of approach this from a philosophical standpoint. You do a lot of change-making work yourself, and in particular, I'm thinking about this festival you're bringing up, the Tipping Point work, and maybe some other things. So maybe you could share very, very briefly a couple of things you think can be those catalytic spaces for change. Because we're here also talking about how we can practically collaborate with each other around these issues.
Very good, my pleasure. Yes, one of the initiatives that we're leading is called the Tipping Point System, and as part of that will be also online festivals, but it's about exploring the evolutionary role of music as a force for social change. So we're working at the moment on creating a world song, gathering 1 million voices, including the voices of the whales, the dolphins, the plants, and the planet, to sing together for the one mother we all have in common, and that is Mother Earth. And therefore to see how music as a universal language, and a language that can open the hearts, can really bring us together in song and restore our evolutionary coherence in similar ways as indigenous communities have always done when they are faced with very difficult times. And then we're linking that to being able to create platforms and technologies, linked also in collaboration, partnership with Seeds and with Haifa, that people through the song process then, and by adding their voice, can now have access to the tools and the communities to start creating these regenerative projects and take action in their life. So that's one of the kind of key projects, and how we then go about that, we're developing that in an evolutionary learning system, so that we are really learning, doing, acting, and reflecting all at the same time.
No, thank you very much for the question and the initiative. I also add the link to the document and then to the chat. And well, the focus of Anna-Lu was about human being and how a human also can stay human and live in the world. So with music and seeds as well, but I think it can be linked with the question of regenerative economy. Still we have only experiments about it, and it's interesting to hear from Alan Bolden from your community. So as I understand, you are trying also to really carry out a polygon of regenerative economy. So can you share, please, how does it work? And is it really possible that we stop simply consuming and using the earth as it? And what are the main principles then of how we can live with the nature?
Great, yeah, thanks. I've made some notes just because I know I've only got a few minutes, but just Annalise, I mean, I love the idea of a million voices singing a song to open the heart. That just sounds, you know, marvelous. And when you talked about acknowledging pain and suffering, I'll refer to that as well. I thought of the artist Joseph Beuys saying in my bad German, "Zeig mir deine Wunde," show me your wound, as the start of real connection. That seems to me to be really important. Anyway, so yeah, hi, my name's Alan Bolden. I'm the Managing Director of Dartington Trust in the UK and the Founder Director of Weave. Been asked to speak briefly about both of these. Dartington Trust's a charity based on a 1,200-acre estate in the UK. Our mission is to be a creative catalyst for a more just and sustainable world. On the Dartington estate, we have Schumacher College, and we've just started a new art school. All of our degree programs will be up to 11 next year, I think, actually the end of this year, are focused on regenerative culture, and we've got an expansive short course portfolio. The estate for us is a campus, a lab, and a hub. We've got a long-established agroecology program, but over 40 years it's been going. Numerous experiments in food futures, and we'll shortly be launching an institute for regenerative land and food cultures. And again, we can't do that on our own. That will be as part of a network. We have a research and practice unit. Just like to mention, we deliver support to the health and social care sectors throughout the UK. Actually, we work with 83% of local government authorities, helping them to inform and deliver vital care. And we're expanding our arts offer. We'll have 4 festivals this year, all with the same focus, and we're opening a new gallery. So Dartington has been a leading progressive change for over a century, with a focus on arts, ecology, and social justice. You mentioned regenerative projects. So our learning programs are all focused on regenerative culture, with collaboration and community central to the learning. We employ short, intensive, place-based programs with online and peer support. Interesting maybe to mention, we're currently working on a certificate in planetary health that will use an acre of land at Dartington and other acres across a network of schools as a focus for a long-term networked place-based inquiry. I mentioned that the estate's a campus, a lab, it's also a hub. This last piece is what took me back to Dartington in the last couple of years. I've been there a few times in my life, to see if we could connect the remarkable resources and potential of that place to others asking similar questions across a wide variety of bioregions. I was already underway with this. I started, co-founded a social enterprise called Weave with the tech entrepreneur Matt Isaacs. We're working in the areas of leadership development, learning innovation, and placemaking, with the aim to nurture systemic wisdom. Maybe we're doing that today. We're currently expanding to establish learning hubs around the globe. We're keen to establish a coalition to reimagine learning globally that includes a curated portfolio of experiments to test out place-based models to allow the coalition and partners to devise adaptive strategies and solutions to challenges for wider dissemination, testing, and refining. It's one of the reasons I'm excited to be part of this conversation today. Effectively, we find that a close attention to place, any place, will reveal endless complexity, and attending to this with care and deep curiosity is the start of a regenerative process. Along with this, I think we need to learn from and with others. I think now of a recent conversation I had with one of the founders of a major international consultancy that had a stated aim to, that they were committed to solving global challenges. It was clear that although they had offices all over the world, the business model and the forms of inquiry were based on North American settings. There was a stated desire to learn and gain vital insight from projects in other bioregions, but the the business model dominated and overruled any potential for real learning. And it seems to me that learning from and with each other is vital if we're to meet the challenges of our time. If we're looking at food futures, for instance, it's important to employ consistent research methods, strategies, and also to acknowledge the qualities and properties of a wide variety of contexts, including the complex interweave of the social, economic, and environmental conditions. So the kinds of learning alliances we're considering today could offer the potential to deliver place-responsive and adaptable solutions to grand challenges. We've been asked to comment on what inhibits or stops the kind of alliances for regenerative culture we may need. In my experience, money, territoriality, IP walls, and narrow focus are often the causes. One key reason, and I've mentioned this in referring to the consultancy that I spoke about, is that there needs to be a shared desire to learn together, a deep curiosity to know more about the other. I would go further and suggest that love needs to be at the heart of learning, a love of the places we're in, with all their complexity and wonder, along with a love of learning. Unlike funding, that doesn't dry up. I also find that collaboration where partners generally offer up what they have for mutual benefit can generate really significant resource. As I mentioned in the film I was asked to make for the festival, I wonder also if in reimagining learning, we might consider how to draw upon an urgent love, a love that attends to the wonders of our world, even in a time of crisis and emergency, perhaps especially so. And back to some of your points, Annalise, a love that doesn't look away when there is pain, grief and loss, or difference and injustice, but rather wants to know more, a love that's careful not to project or for expectations to overwrite encounters and experience. So I wonder if there can be an urgent love, and can there be forms of learning that are informed by this urgent love, a love that helps us to know that we can no longer act upon the world as if it is dead, inanimate, not part of us, but that helps us to know that we are our environment. This could be the way to empathy, could be part of the solution to the great challenges we face. It might also be a way to reimagine learning and a learning coalition based on love, empathy, and connection. Maybe. There we are. Some connections with what you were saying, I think, Annalise.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Beautiful, and just wanted to maybe resonate with one point that you mentioned, Alan, is this idea of attentive connection with local processes that open up incredible complexity, and I think that's also about loving care for a place. I feel that this is something we started to lose in our industrial civilization and our urban civilization, where people are just becoming, on one hand, we're talking about this planetary citizenship, where effectively it's just a disconnection from the roots without reconnection to larger processes, unfortunately. So reappropriating the idea of planetary citizenship by connecting to that place-based initiative. I think this is also one of the inspirations for us to host this panel today, is talking about this, what we call polygons. It's not just polygons, it's these spaces and places that very, very unique, and each of them giving a unique contribution to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and well, it would be really great to hear from Dmitry Shamenkov right now, just also the example of one of our regions in Russia, in Altai region, where, well, I feel that there is the love for the locality, and I really also miss it in Moscow and in such big cities. Yeah, when it seems like we are more like working in the city and not living in it. And it's really important, I think, if we want to get the regenerative society and regenerative economy, then to start to feel yourself as the liver as the one who is living here, and that your life won't start sometime after the work, but it's right now and every moment and every day. But well, I think that it's really important that we have some shift in the educational system in order to.
Can I actually fill in for Dmitry, because Dmitry apologized that he was getting late exactly because he was today working on this project to kind of get it to the new stage of development. I was in the meeting with him before this panel, so I can share briefly. He's still on the way. He probably will join us later. I think it's important to hear his voice because he's based there in this region of Altai Mountains, an incredible geographical, natural, and cultural site, because Altai Mountains is actually the place where all American Indians, they come as a tribes. It was genetically proven they come from this very area, and the area was a crossroads for so many civilizations, Scyths, Silk Road, and many more. It's an incredible location, but it's also one of the, maybe in terms of its geographical and natural beauties, is considered one of the most beautiful areas in the world, constantly rank on the top. And it faces a challenge right now because of a growing tourism to the area. They start to see how this natural beauty, all this beauty they endowed it with, risks the destruction, very rapid disintegration, so to say. Everyone is seriously concerned. They're talking about the anthropological pressure has grown in like 20 years, maybe 10 times. So it's in a number of buildings that are created, roads that are paved, and so on. Destruction of the biodiversity. So the new governor, coupled with research institutions in the area, nationally, globally, and some of the leading investors, want to create the whole area, turn it into a regenerative territory. And it's actually 3 times bigger than Switzerland. So it's a huge territory with incredible potential. And the idea is to do a holistic model of development that will bring together working with nature, working with people and culture, including bringing up the indigenous culture, the very rich indigenous culture, to reawaken it as guardians of the land. That's, I think, is very resonant with what Anna-Louise is doing in her work. And at the same time, recognize the need for technologies and bringing technologies to the area, the very advanced regenerative technologies that help us kind of re-establish, rather than continue on the extractive pathway with this economy, bring up a totally new paradigm there. So it's one area, I hope that Dmitry will speak later, but it's one area that is very open for these partnerships, and it wants to be part of alliances globally and really demands something that where we can work together and co-create a new paradigm. And it can be done already at this scale with totally changing the perspective here in Russia, which I think is very novel here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for for sharing. Alan is asking about the link. Where is the place? You mean the place of Altai region, or Altai Mountains? Yeah. So if we go on and go also to the question of education, and well, Dmitry Shamenkov is also working on rising like a human being and some well, yesterday we discussed that soft skills is not the best word for it, because soft skills seems like something optional and something not obligatory, but it is the way we are living as a human being, and the way we understand how to be a human being. So, and I wanted to ask Victoria Aro to add her experience here, as she is working in a whole university that is devoted to connection between human and nature and to all those eco problems. So it is really interesting for me to know how did it really work. So, and how, what people do you get into the university, and do you see the difference when they go out of the university, and do they really go out, or should it be maybe the place that is connecting all this group? So just a bunch of questions here. Can you please share the main points of your experience?
Yes, thank you, Anastasia, and thank you, Pavel, for the invitation. Well, yeah, I'm co-founder of Universidad del Medio Ambiente, University of the Environment in Mexico, and together with Schumacher College, who Alan just spoke about, we're two of the very few formal universities in the world that are completely specialized in sustainability. I mean, every major university has environmental studies and has environmental faculties and environmental schools, but that doesn't mean that the whole of the university would declare that they are specialized in sustainability and regeneration. And I'm sure that Alan will agree with me that we would wish not to be the only two around the world, but we would hope that eventually every single university in the world would say that they're specialized in sustainability and regeneration, because this is what we all need. And now Schumacher and UMA, our university, well, we're really small. So it's in any case a pleasure to be in this conversation, sharing this. So regarding your question, who comes to these universities that are specialized in sustainability? Well, people that are wanting to become professionals in terms of regenerative culture and make a living, try to make a living out of this, develop the abilities that this entails. And in terms of what you were saying of soft skills, we believe that it is the integration of soft skills and hard skills that can bring this forth. And what, at least at UMA, what we're proposing as the main process for this sort of studies are communities of practice, which is also what Alan was saying in terms of learning how to learn together. Not only learning how to learn together, but how to self-organize and be autonomous and independent of universities. I actually, it's kind of paradoxical, but at UMA, this is what we say. We receive students and tell them, well, we're going to try to put conditions for you to learn how to be completely independent of UMA or any university in terms of being able to, as professionals, organize in communities of practice that can share experimentation and learning. And I really believe that every single university should be a community of practice, so that we are not into theoretical learning or even applied learning, but actually experimenting together and finding out what works, what doesn't work, reorganizing ourselves as humans in communities of practice instead of in states or even cultures. So there's this possibility of a different view in terms of how do we organize. And regarding regeneration and the change of mindsets that this implies, and we've been talking a little bit in this panel about the integration of joy and pain and love and suffering. And indeed, regeneration implies this integration. And I would just like to bring forth the historic perspective of this. Right now, because of the situation we are living, I perceive that many people are feeling this is the worst of all the times that humanity has lived. And I certainly don't think this is the case if we really, relate to the system of our history. So I think an important part of sustainability is gratefulness and appreciation. I think this is actually the first step of sustainability and regeneration, is the appreciation and gratefulness for everything that we do have and the enormous abundance that there is in the world right now. A lot of liberty that has not been seen in many, many times. And the recognition that millions of humans before us have worked for this level of liberty that many of us enjoy today. And that that pandemics, for example, have been part of our coevolution with bacteria and viruses in this world, and that there is a lot of experience in human civilization with dealing with pandemics, that this is part of our evolution, seeing this as the way the world is, and not something going wrong with it. For example, just working on our self-esteem as human beings and appreciating what we have actually done well up to now, I think it's an important part of regeneration and of this integration of love and suffering and joy and pain. So that would be, I think, if you ask me, are students, for example, at UMA changing when they come out? Completely, particularly because many times they come into the university thinking that they're coming to become professionals in environmental law or in sustainable architecture. And what is really transforming is that they come out being part of a culture of regenerative communities of practice, which was not their plan to begin with, but that's what happens in the end. Thank you.
That's really very inspiring. Thank you so much. And well, I liked also the image of coevolution here, and that it's not the catastrophe that we are facing right now. It's just one of the evolution steps, and in that evolution, we're actually moving forward, and we're okay. So it's just another step when we are growing up, and we need to become more self-esteemed and self-conscious adults, and we need to change our relationship with the planet. And so it's not like all those future scenarios of catastrophe, just an evolution. So it's hard, it's painful, and we need to work hard on it, but we can go through it. Yeah.
Very quickly, just I'm thinking that maybe we should not diminish, we should not kind of say that it's just evolution. I think evolution is like, this is a huge challenge. I mean, it's a whole species, and many species die in such crisis. And when a species is facing the crisis, very often it's not able to overcome one. And in the past, just evolution was killing many civilizations of the past. So right now, this is indeed just evolution, but it's a crisis, an evolutionary crisis. So it's quite, I would say, it's an existential thing, because it's where, on one hand, yes, it's a stage of evolution, but it's really where the stakes are very high. So I would not say it's either or, it's both, in my opinion. So I would not say and it's also not to say that it's okay. But if it's happening, then we're not guaranteed to go through it. Let's say we have to try, and there are very high chances if we try, we will manage. But if we just dismiss it and say, okay, it's a normal process, business as usual. Alan, you wanted to say something?
It's not directly related to what you've just said, but just a brief comment. Victoria said, that Schumacher and UMA, kind of isolated in a way. I think there are many more, organizations out there. I often speak to my colleagues at Schumacher and say that there are real limitations about describing ourselves as unique. First of all, we're not. And finding actually that there are, many people and organizations trying to do the same thing, have been for a while. That's the start of connection and collaboration and the kind of coalition, as well as acknowledging differences, and differences then become really interesting. But I do want to say as well, I, like many of you probably, have done lots of consultancy around the world with universities. And it's partly because where I've taken the kind of approach to learning that we have at Schumacher and Dartington, we get massive interest. We designed some master's programs. We got 15,000 inquiries for some master's degrees that we designed at Dartington. And it's because, it is this, deeply connected approach, pedagogic approach, where students can see the relevance and the potential impact, and it feels meaningful and significant in the crisis that you're talking about, Pavel. And it's not a bad thing to mention. It's a bit more mundane, but in a way, you know, if you're trying to change a sector, like a university sector, reassuring the president or the vice chancellor or whatever, that you will get students this way as well, because students are looking for something more engaged, more meaningful, more purposeful, more impactful. It doesn't have to be, you know, the same old game. Let's change the game. That was it.
Thank you. And I also wanted to move to Gina, as she has also an educational platform, so coevolve. And well, Gina, how do you think? Can it work, for example, for this international alliance or some other agents of evolution? So how can it be the part of the puzzle, and also just the main principles that you personally feel important according to building the thriving future and regenerative society?
Thanks very much. Lovely to be here. I also picked up on some of the points coming through. So before I get into Campus Co-Evolve, I just want to resonate with pain and trauma and the lessons that we learn, and we can push through that. I think Thomas Hublet talks a lot about that. The connection to place. It's interesting. I come from the film industry, and I worked across Europe over 7 years, working with filmmakers from all over Europe. And each time we connected 3 times a year in a different place with the same group of people, and really connected to the place. We brought in music, we brought in exploration in what was culturally relevant, and also through storytelling and understanding storytelling in each place, and discussing the cultural relevance in each place. And I also come from South Africa originally, and I feel that this very Western emphasis in a lot of what we do needs to be expanded and opened up. And the voice coming from these other continents, these other places, is vitally important. And so relating to context, listening across in context, and what will come into something that we're talking about on the campus, where our campus is a virtual university. Then just thinking about context and how do we use online and emerging online education to think about this connection to context. I don't have the answer, I'm putting it out there, because I think there's a sense, part of that we might need to really think about. Learning together, obviously. And I was sharing, so mobility, people who are moving between places, migration, etc. How does context, how do they relate to context? How do they feel cultural? How do they become belonging? How do they find a sense of belonging in a place? How do we deal with this in what we're looking at? These are some thoughts that have come up with what's come out. I'll get to some other points, I think, through my talking about the campus. So the campus started in 2019, so it's really young. It's a virtual campus, virtual online university, really for innovation in transformative education. Basically, its 5 pillars are holistic, experiential, praxis-driven, transformative, and co-creative. And its purpose is really to trigger viral waves of new capabilities for facilitating profound transformation in personal, societal, and planetary levels. And co-evolution of learners with each other. This is what we're fostering with their cohort and the real-world projects. The culture is designed for the co-creation, the cultivation of evolutionary friendships, learning teams and partnerships, and also communities of practice, Victoria, as a very strong point in what we do. We are also looking at the moment in prototyping how we can leverage emerging trends in online education for transformative participatory pedagogy to strengthen our coevolution and thrivability. And the campus has been focusing primarily on training evolutionary activists, facilitators, and leaders, looking at the second tier thinking. So while we've got big shifts, for example, capitalist to post-capitalist, do we know what that is? Consciousness, we link profit-centric to people-centric, so very much the orange to the green. This has been an almost spontaneous move, but what about the move from green to teal, which is much more of a momentous move and shift? And so looking into, we're needing facilitators at all levels, intrapersonal, interpersonal, and societal and global. And this is the niche that the campus has been looking particularly at. So the other area is Future How is the Center for Action Research for Evolutionary Emergence, and it's using Campus Co-Evolve as an educational arm for prototyping and emergent integration of transformative learning and action research for transformation, which was a term that was devised by Hilary Bradbury at Action Research Plus. And this addresses some of those points also of traditional universities and action research and the learning that you were talking about, Victoria, which is not just research for going on a shelf somewhere or to be in the annals of a library, but something that is an ongoing research, practical, applied process. And we're building small prototypes of this action research coming out of the learning journeys that students have been going through. So for example, we have some of the students that have formed an action research for transformation community of practice, and we're carrying on our projects through this community of practice to really make the passive into the active and bring them into real living practices. We also have a community of practice from our media shaman or our transformative media reception and creation program. And that has been ongoing for the last 3 programs, and people come in and out from their various, at different cohorts, can come into the community of practice and join this process. But one of the innovations that came out, and one of the things that came out last year was while the practitioners engaged in the art, the action research for transformation community of practice, they formed a transformative community of practice with a specific focus on vertical development as the common domain of the practice. So the other thing that is developing to expand, and this can relate, I think, to our connections, which is we're developing a platform, which is a platform sense of the ecosystem thinking, which is deepening, amplifying, and enlivening the exchange of transformative education seekers and providers. So it's about relational development. It's a tool to serve the ecosystem. It's making more visible what exists, and also looking at an ecosystem of transformative communities of practice. So I think that's just, in short, who we are and possibly what we can look at to talk about going forward.
So, thank you very much. And Gina, just maybe a small question. So, as I understand, you're working online, and just online. What is your attitude towards some offline connection and offline education for those agents of evolution? So, considering this international alliance that we can organize, so is it important to have some offline connections then?
absolutely. In fact, before the pandemic, the first programs, a couple of the first programs had a face-to-face offline connection, and they had a meeting in a specific context in a specific place. And we will certainly, that was added value and brought a totally different and additional dimension to everybody who came into that space. So absolutely, I think place-based and face-to-face is added value to the online process.
I'm seeing here a very interesting interplay between platforms such as the one that Gina is talking about, and the place-based initiative that, for example, Victoria and Alan were talking about, and Dmitry, who joined us, hopefully will also say a few words later. So there is this connection. We are talking about very grounded, as Alan beautifully put it, like attention to this place, but still we need this connection space that connects us globally. So that glocality, Mihhail Proseckin hopefully will also later talk, that is a very, very important part of such alliances.
As just also offline connections from different countries and from different cultures. But well, for me, this is also an interesting focus of digital space, because, well, I think that this is also what is challenging us right now, that when we have this digital space and it can't be structured hierarchical like all this industrial system. And that's why a lot of people are starting to think how we can organize our life in digital space, and then how we can organize our life in physical space. And so that's why, well, digital space is not the same as the physical. It is different, and we also need to take it into account. And we have Ksenia Gnitko with her project Common Data. So can you please share your view on the digital space? So how it should be, maybe the main points of it, considering the thriving future and regenerative society, but also considering our international alliance. So how can it be maybe helpful for us to prototype future altogether?
Okay, thanks, Anastasia. First of all, it's my pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Ksenia, and I'm a researcher of the Almanac of the Practice of the Future, and I'm also a co-founder of the project named Common Data. Common Data is a web platform for crowdsourcing data. We are bringing together projects, mostly social and research projects, and their potential users. Projects could gather data and share results, and users, we call them donors, can support projects by providing their data. Our project based on two main ideas. First, we live in a data-driven world. Our day-to-day life depends on algorithms and computer models. In their turn, algorithms and models rely on the quality of the input data. So we need to increase the quality of data, make it suitable for different tasks, make it free from biases. In our team, we believe that the best way to do it is to create new collaborative instruments to work with data. I think that data crowdsourcing can be as meaningful as it was with open source movement, as it was with citizen science. It was and still is. So I think data crowdsourcing is a way. The second idea behind our project is about privacy. In this technical reality, sharing your personal data is no longer optional. Governments, corporations are collecting our data, and we cannot really do something about it. There is no choice to share or not to share. So I think we should reconsider the concept of privacy. Maybe privacy could be an opportunity to choose with whom you share your data. Maybe privacy should be about participation, compassion, solidarity, and conscious choice. I don't know, but I want to explore it. We explore it and prototype it. Currently, we are at the MVP stage, and I really hope we'll launch our product at the beginning of spring. I would be delighted to welcome your initiatives on our platform and to think about collaboration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ksenia. Well, I think this is a really important question because a lot of people, even those who are really conscious and thinking about, for example, regenerative economy and education, they don't think about questions of data because maybe some of them don't know it. Well, I see it, for example, among my friends, and but yeah, I like the idea that we can't. There is no question to share or not to share. Yeah, it's just a question who to share with, and we can be responsible about it. And I also wanted to ask Franz to tell about his also digital project platform that can be helpful for the regenerative economy. So Franz, can you please tell us about your project and how do you see how it can work with regenerative economy?
Great, thank you, Anastasia. I would love to share a little bit of my perspective. My name is Franz Josef Allmeyer, and I'm a co-creator at Seeds and Haifa, the organization creating Seeds. And I have the pleasure already to be working with a few of you in this call, and also with beautiful presence in a lot of the bioregions and the organizations that have been mentioned in this space. And allow me to first start by expressing my gratitude to share this space with such committed individuals that share this purposeful vision, and it's truly inspiring. What I want to share is a little bit about Seeds, which is a regenerative financial system designed for a thriving global society. What we're essentially doing is cultivating a global movement which aligns radical empowerment of purpose with finance. And the mission here is to bring about a modern day renaissance. A lot of our community in this space acknowledge that the economy should cater for all life and should not leave anyone behind, with also the understanding that human activity should enhance the environment and the community by providing benefits to everyone and not just a few. Such an economy is shaped by cooperation and is itself not limited by geopolitics, but deeply involves a shared sense of responsibility towards the biosphere as a whole. And in order to do this, we found inspiration in nature, the mycelial networks that sustain complex systems. And what we're doing is connecting people and organizations in ways that generate and distribute value across networks more effectively, and therefore benefit the long-term well-being of the entire system. What we've created is an open source, decentralized, citizen-governed, and evolved financial system that redefines what currency can do. And the big difference between the current financial system and what we're doing with Seeds is the creation of Seeds, which is the currency of Seeds, is carried out algorithmically through transparent protocols, which means that allows us to create as much currency as there is demand for exchange within an economy. And what this does is eliminate artificial scarcity from an economy and essentially reverses the trend of inequality and concentration of power of today's dominant systems. And in this concept of education, what we're talking about, or essentially human consciousness, we acknowledge that really at the very root of this planetary and human condition is shaped by our financial systems. And in these financial systems, in today's default currency, money is centrally created, which means we have a handful of individuals choosing what value is for the rest of the planet. And it's also created out of debt. And this debt-based money is essentially distributed through trickle-down economics, in which money doesn't trickle down from the top of the pyramid to all levels of society. And when we focus on education, it's a very clear outcome that our whole systems education are currently not given the funding that they should be. And that applies to many other areas of our society. So our starting premise is that if we are to change the trajectory of humanity, in this case, we also need to evolve our financial systems, which are at the root of that. So personally, I really believe that the real promise of the digital age is to help us to transition us away from a monoculture of induced scarcity, fear, separation, that are imposing over all other forms of diversity. And that applies to both cultural as well as biological diversity. Technologically, we have the tools and capacity to empower and scale what we have as human beings, this innate human ability to cooperate and exchange with one another. And what that unlocks is the ability for all of us to converge around bioregional economies of unprecedented abundance. So that's that beautiful thrivability concept that Ana Luz was touching about, that we're simply not saying that we're trying to survive, we're really stepping into a world of abundance, and that's something that really attracts. So the dialectics here really are all about centralization versus decentralization, scarcity versus abundance, degeneration versus regeneration, but also in terms of alliances, moving away from that fragmentation or polarization, which is instilled by our financial system, and moving towards unity and integrity. Some of the things that I also wanted to touch about is in terms of education, we're already experimenting with multiple educational institutions and universities across the globe that are very much aligned with what all of the participants here are mentioning. So we're also exploring with this concept of the Renaissance pluriversity, where essentially we're providing a value exchange to all of these organizations committed to sharing knowledge and transferring these best practices, and creating or shifting the educational model around in which we're able to pay for individuals to build capacity for regeneration. So if there's a demand for regeneration around the planet, why not subsidize that demand? Similarly, as the current financial system subsidizes the military industrial complex or other activities, the same ways, likewise, we can also subsidize regeneration. And in terms of educational spaces, that's also one of the low-hanging fruits to bring about that grand transition that we're all hoping about. So also part of my intervention is an invitation for all of you to participate in this project and also request alliance grants, because essentially how SEED starts is by recognizing these organizations and individuals that have been committed to this great transition. And simply by uniting this movement, uniting these organizations, we are creating an economical force in itself, which has the potential or the power to compete the current system based on its own game. It's a very exciting prospect. And I can tell you things are happening very fast in a very self-organized manner all across the globe, where communities are stepping up and creating self-organized ways of exchanging value with one another. And that itself is also one big part of education, where we are coming into the notion that we are already in this abundant planet and we just need to start living in those principles. And what we're doing also through a currency is creating the spaces where conscious consumers are coming together with conscious producers in a participatory learning relationship. And that in itself is also a very, very powerful driving force in terms of raising that consciousness and stepping into the worlds we all want to shift together with. Yeah, and I want to finish by stating a little bit of a phrase that we like to share. And it's all, at the end of the day, civilization is defined by its medium of exchange. And what we're able to do is, if you change that medium of exchange, you're also able to transform your civilization. And that's precisely what we're right now focusing on. And what we're doing is changing the medium of exchange from something that's debt-based, centralized, to something that is fully transparent, equitative, and has regeneration or the principles of nature programmed to it. And this way we really see a great potential for unleashing this transformation, and it will happen, I think, much faster than we are all meant to believe. So I'm very confident and happy about all of this evolution that is taking place, and happy to be in this co-creative space with you guys.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you for being with us. I think what you're doing is incredibly important, because we constantly hear that, okay, there is this romanticism of romantics of the idea of transition, but it's not supported by the economy. The economy wants something else, which may not be the fact. And we are actually living in that transition, but we do need some vehicles of transition. So actually, maybe the question to you is also, can you put in the chat and maybe give us some more clear guidance where we, as, for example, participants, but would be participants of this alliance, could go, and how we can connect with your work?
Yeah, happy to mention a bit about this already. So how it works right now is we have an invite-only financial system. So you're able to reach out to any community member and request an invite, which allows you to download the Seeds Global Passport. And in the Seeds Global Passport, you have the co-op. So essentially, it's citizens of Seeds receiving proposals from around the planet requesting for funding. So that means we have right now a living portfolio of regenerative projects all around the world that are needing for funding. And we're extending that invitation to the rest of us, which are also stuck in essentially this artificially scarce world that we've been put in. And another permaculture principle, the problem is the solution. Since everybody is in this artificial state of scarcity, by providing a medium of exchange that allows us to interconnect and step out of that scarcity altogether, then we're shifting that transition in a very speedy way. Also, one thing that I wanted to briefly touch upon, Pavel, which is in terms of resource, we're also right now experimenting with essentially mergers of the old financial system and the new financial system to really bring about that sort of interrelationship between the old finance and the new. So we're experimenting right now here in Sweden, for example, with innovative structured finance and developing hybrid bond products with asset-backed bonds with land that is being made available all across the world, and allowing communities to bring liquidity to providing their lands for regeneration and including the community on it. So it's like shifting the power structures towards like owning land and conserving it to more land stewardship and regeneration, which is a very exciting edge right now where we're in. And I'll be happy to add some more information to the chat.
Yes, and just wanted to share that I hear from the conversation here, there is this joke, which is, I'm putting you together because you're a puzzle. So we are in a way a puzzle, pieces kind of joining each other, because I see that there are these different, let's say, spaces and places, and also integrating platforms that can and do come together to really start building this up, because we basically are all requiring each other's support and assistance. And I'm hearing this from, on one hand, some specific regional projects in Russia, in UK, in Mexico. We have the cultural shift and new form of art and new, let's say, tuning in that Anne Lewis with her work is offering, that kind of sets a new vibration in a way in this. And then we have platforms that help integrate the learning platform of Campus Coevolve and similar platform. We have Ksenia, who helps integrate the data. And really, if we think about ourselves as spaces for experimentation, we do need a project like this, which will help us integrate the data properly and create evidences that, yes, there is new approaches, that they truly work. So we need that layer. And finally, France, we have this layer of economy and currency in the financial system that can support us and make our projects kind of both interdependent and mutually supportive. This is, I really like that, how this comes into being. It's so beautiful. Dmitry has joined us, and we also have Anastasia to share the invitation, as I understand. So you will be speaking on behalf of Mikhail, as I understand, to invite to another what would be regenerative place in Russia, in Baikal, right? But maybe not only Baikal and Altai could be part of this, and that's how I'm seeing this. So will you show us the invitation?
Yeah, I think I will start, and I will be happy if Dmitry support me after that. Well, I was discussing it through, during the session, that we believe that some physical immersions and physical connections are really important. And as I see and as I hope, we can really become a community, a club, and an alliance, and start different prototypes and experiments in different places, but they should be local, and they should have their local physical space with local physical people who love it and who believe in it, and who are also ready to carry out experiments, some entrepreneurs there. And one of important ideas of Mihhail Proseckin is that, nowadays we are all very atomized and isolated, but atomized at first, and this is the consequence of this industrial era. Because, we started to live in nuclear families, and then just one human can use different can pay other people to do everything, and just it seems that he or she can live alone, but it's an illusion, and it really breaks the human being, and it breaks the whole system. And the places, we have these places in the north where people can't live alone, and they can live with others, and at the same time they can live with themselves. So, and this, I think, can be maybe the focus of the first immersion: how to be yourself, how to live with yourself, and at the same time how to co-live and coexist and co-evolve with others. And I hope that we really can meet, and no laws will stop us this summer in 2021 in Baikal. So I will share the screen to show you just a small part of it. Do you see it? Right? So this is the lake.
I'm skating on the ice of the largest ice stream in the world, the Lake Baikal. There is a lot here which can't be found anywhere else on the earth. You may think about fresh water source and unique nature, but this is the place where the different was always born and will be born. The real future is always about the different. Here, one can practice different education, different economy, and different way of life. This place is really important for the humanity, and it needs human as a part of the ecosystem, but not the master. We invite you to come to Baikal International Polygon of Practices of the Future in summer 2021 to prototype future with us.
So in summer,
Значит, в первой части разговора.
So in summer it will be different, and maybe this also will be a point for us to build difference there and to find difference in ourselves. And so we haven't projected it yet, because we believe that this immersion should be projected with the community that is going to go into this immersion. So, and I will be happy if you're interested in it and if you're ready to prototype this immersion with us.
Is it okay to make a quick comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to take too much. I was thinking about a couple of people that Munir and Bilal, who some people on the call might know, who've been talked with me about their work in Beirut and Iraq, and in places where they can't necessarily travel very easily, and where sometimes they've still been sort of saying, well, we're committed to embodied experiential learning, but we can't necessarily meet the people that we're doing this with, and sometimes they've turned down the opportunity to meet. And I found that very striking, because I've been so committed to place-based learning. We meet each other in the place. And they were like, well, yeah, but if you get the chance to meet and then you can never meet again, that online experience becomes a sort of second-class experience. So they've been looking at how to support a kind of community of practice online that includes embodied and experiential learning. And I think there's something really important there. My own company, we've been, I'd love to go to Bilal, to the mountains, Atlai Mountains. I love to travel, but at the same time, been realizing more and more, the carbon costs, climate wars, other barriers going up, because of, lack of welcome, really, and the rise of intolerance, means that, it's not a sustainable way to do things, but we still need to learn from each other in these places. So like in Weave, we're saying, well, we're initiating projects all around the world and looking at how we can be involved, embedded as mentors, as trainers, as co-learners in those projects, continuing to learn from and with each other. And some of the prototyping that I think Gina's mentioned, I wonder if we can prototype those kinds of models of collaboration. I think that would be really a great step forward. That was it.
Absolutely, Alan. I support you completely.
Dmitry, will you share maybe a little bit about, I was holding the place for you, saying something about Altai Mountains, but you also, apart from that, you are a practitioner of a very great system of well-being and healthcare. With a medical background, you're actually kind of building up this new practice of joining communication, human communication and open communication with well-being for people and for families and communities.
Yes, thank you, Pavel, and I'm happy to be here with you, with all of you. And yes, we work a lot with health and with health management system in Russia, and we discover the direct way to better health in communities is the dialogue. So, and when we start to communicate more open with honesty, with acceptance, so we can discover more health and we can raise our quality of life and well-being amazingly with a short time for many people. So, and now I live in Mountain Altai region or Altai Republic, and we try to make the system of we try to make the system how to manage the health of all regions. So we connect all people in our republic, and we try to involve them to make novel approach to connection between human and nature. And first, I want to shortly. I want to show you a short video about Mountain Altai, and it just maybe 2, 3, 5 minutes. Okay, just small
2
video.
minutes.
Okay. Okay. Maybe a little more. Not sure. So okay, it's amazing place, really. You should trust. Amazing rivers, lakes, mountains, a lot of beautiful people, amazing nature. That's river, it's one of the beaches, lakes in the world. Okay, I can show you more, but I want to try to explain what we want to make in this region. So we want to keep it first because of I never seen the same nature in the world, but we have a big territory. It's like a 2.5 Switzerland's, 2.5 more, twofold more territories than Switzerland, and it also the center of ancient civilizations is like Scythian and Native Americans. So we saw a specific scientific papers which describe this a lot of ways of ancient civilizations, and we want to try. We try to make the center for regenerative economics, which connects every part of our life, from the healthcare, like regenerative healthcare, up to every part of human life. So we work with Pavel on it, and we also invite everybody who is here to also to join our project, and we have good communication with the government. So, and also it's really important for us that we can make a network of all people who are involved, who can make decisions about this region. So, and also we invite a lot of companies which are ecologically oriented and who want to also to take some technologies to a region to keep it while touristical flow is grows, and we don't want to close region, but we want to open it to the normal opportunity, and we want to make whole opportunities for all of us to be healed by the nature in our place. So Pavel, but you can add something, but.
Well, yeah, I feel that actually what we have here and in all of our panel, we have, let's say, a community of people really wanting to make this happen. And we all recognize constraints. We all recognize that it's not going to be easy, and it is challenging for each of us, and it is challenging if we do it together, but nevertheless, we are persistent. We strongly believe in this. We want to do it. That's the most important. We are committed. We are not doing this for, let's say, the old world. We want to do it for the world that emerges, that the world that calls ahead of us, the future world. So, and we think there is this possibility opening up in each of those spaces, the space, the physical spaces, the spaces of human learning, economic spaces, technological spaces. In each of them, we have great opportunities, which we need to start capturing. But the capturing it depends on us going there, connecting with each other, and doing it. So I feel that the best outcome for me in the conversation today is that we are not disbanded once we kind of go away from this moment today. Because the meeting today and when we think about networks of those who could be in the room but who's not here, is such a great potential. And if we only find good ways to work with each other in sustainable way, in economically sustainable and meaningful way. And yes, on our side, we invite you to join projects in Russia because this is what we can bring to the table. This is our part of it. But we need you to be with us. Give us knowledge, your insights, your state of consciousness. This is so important. I mean, this is not only about mental things, not only about technologies. It's about the way you connect with the world. Each of you present today in this space is such a beauty. Well, I am learning so much from it. Each of us is learning so much from it. If we only can keep this relationship going, I think we will go really far together. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel.
Yes, if you want to add something, you can just do it right now. So
go ahead, Alan.
Just to say, I'm really keen on learning by doing, and even if this was the start of a group, then I would say let's start. And one of the things we should think about is what's the mechanism for bringing in others. And if that's always part of the feature of a group as it unfolds, then it can unfold and learn from and with others as we connect to other nodes, other hubs, other people, other places. But also acknowledge that when someone else joins, there might need to be a fundamental change of the dynamic, And I think that's always part of the challenge, but also part of the beauty of connecting, that you don't just kind of hold your habits. You formed a group and now that's it. That as we, connect more, might have to fundamentally reevaluate. Just a thought.
I was just thinking when how do we communicate, as you were saying, Alan, but you do a lot of art and theater where you are in your space. We're doing course of people who are dealing with media and film, storytelling. These are amongst, and the music you're talking about, analysts. I think these are connecting facilities that are extraordinary ways to bring people's culture, people's context, even online, into a space. So I think that's something we can really connect on and look at more. It's something very close to my heart.
Yeah.
I want
great idea.
Add just
collective collaborative art over internet and more. Victoria, please.
And also trust just organic connections, because sometimes I also feel like there's this pressure that we should all connect and all form like one thing. And it's also true that organic connections come from, and maybe the movement is more not so organized in terms of how do we connect, but just letting connections start. Just what you did today, Pavel, of letting us know of each other and having this conversation, and just trusting that goes little by little. Otherwise, sometimes I feel there's a culture of frustration that we are not able to connect. And I think, I don't know, there's just a question for me around that in terms of we not getting frustrated about that, not having maybe that specific aim, and just letting the possibility of the flow and of the energy, the time that we have, also, in terms of nurturing our own space, and then being able to connect virtually and not.
I really loved this expression that Alan offered, a loving coalition. So a love-based and care-based relationship. What's more to ask? Thank you very much. I'm really delighted for the conversation today, and I really hope we will carry it forward together. The invitation from Anastasia on Baikal School is one thing where we can hold the space for our collaboration to happen, but it doesn't have to be only physical. We can do like a physical gathering, but keep in mind that a lot of people should not be excluded by their inability to get there. So what if it's done both physically and online? And of course, Altai, this is a huge opportunity. I think opportunity in a good sense. It's not extracting type of opportunity. It's a regenerative type of opportunity. So again, an invitation to do it together. Thank you.
Yeah, we all want to go to Altai.
Yes, we invite all of you, and we can make all for you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful day,
Thanks.
wonderful evening, wherever you are.
Thank you.
Great.